Hello everyone, welcome to Natural Language Processing course. Today we will learn the chapters which is Introduction to NLP and NLTK. And here is the outline in our chapter here. We will learn what is NLP is about and what can we do with NLP and what are those challenges in NLP, and last but not least, we will learn about the toolkits which is used to perform NLP tasks. So to begin with, as this is the first day we will meet throughout this course, these are my background informations. I graduated from my bachelor degree in ITC in Department of IT, and in my year 4 and year 5, I was working on web development, both front-end and back-end. Then I continued to study master degrees for 2 years in Thammasat University, Thailand, and I was working on the software engineering. It is in terms of Master of Science courses, and at the same time I was also working as a teaching assistant in Python lab. And these are contact informations. If you have any question, you can email to my email address, or you can directly contact me via my office here at 307 or at Building B 214. So next, we will begin with the course descriptions. In this course, Natural Language Processing, which in short, NLP, it is a subfield of computer science and artificial intelligence, or in short, we say it AI, which concerns with human interactions that work with computer program and the natural language, which is referred to text documents. And in NLPs, we will deal with the small and text document, whether it is in the form of structured or unstructured text. We call it text documents. And with these NLP, we will program computers on how to process and analyze related data, whether it is small or in a large amount sets of data. However, in NLP, it also focuses on the speech processing. However, it is not considered to be in our study in this course. We will only focus on the text processing. And here is the outcome of this course and the objectives. Upon completion of this course, students will be able to understand the general concepts of NLPs, such as its applications and some other related challenges. Next, students also will be able to perform text pre-processing on a document or documents. This process is so important because before we can analyze some text, we still need to filter some those unnecessary data from the text. And next, to understand how our techniques will be used for text classifications. And generally in NLP course here, we will allow students to continue the research, most importantly in the next degree. And the objective of this course, we will provide students to understand the NLP theory and define related NLP problems which we can solve it. And we will implement some NLP techniques which can be used to perform NLP tasks. And these are prerequisite knowledge that students should have. For example, students should have basic knowledge in algorithms, because we will need some problem-solving techniques in order that we can solve a given problem, whether it is small or it is quite a big problem. And we require some programming languages such as C, Python, or Java, and any of these programming, which allows students to perform the implementations in our course. And we also need some OS operating systems, which we will use Ubuntu. So students should be have knowledge in Ubuntu in advance. And we also require some mathematics skills, such as specifically we will use probabilities and statistics. And these are the tools and language that we will use. We will use Ubuntu's operating system, and we will install Python 3, which is a well-known programming language. It is an dynamic programming languages that we can learn it quite easily. It's not that difficult to learn. And we will use the Python libraries called NLTKs, Natural Language Processing Toolkits, which allow us to perform the NLP tasks. So next we come to the first part in our lecture here. We come to the introductions to the language. So what is language? So when we refer to language, it is divided into two parts. They are called natural language and artificial language. In natural language, we are referring to the human language that we use in everyday life. But if we're talking about artificial language, we're talking about the invented language from the people. Specifically, we refer to the programming languages that we allow the programmers or developers to create any programs using the language. This language will normally work with computer in order that it can perform some tasks. For example, in here, as you can see, in the human language, we have many types of syntax, words, and sentences that we use differently. And in artificial language, for example, here specifically in Python program, we use some different syntax. So as you can see here, in Python, we use different keywords for decision making. Specifically in this example, we use if, elif, and else in order that we can evaluate the inputs obtaining from the raw input commands. So we will go into detail in the next chapters. We will cover on a quick overview on Python's language. And here we will see the difference between vocabulary, text, and language. So normally in vocabulary, it consists of a set of words in a specific domains. So in here, it helps us to what words can be used in order to describe something. But in a text, it is composed of sequence of words from a vocabulary. So we have many words appearing in a vocabulary, right, as we have discussed earlier. So in this case, those texts, when we form it as a sequence of words, these will be created as a text. And for language, it is normally constructed from all possible texts. So we have many texts combining together, which will be considered as a language. So to sum up this, it's normally something like this. We have vocabulary, and in vocabulary, from vocabulary, we can have text, which consists of words, sequence of words from this vocabulary. And from this text, lot of text, we have a language. Next, we will come to NLP applications. What applications are used in NLP? First example here, we call it spelling and grammar checking applications, which help us to check the spelling, finding errors, and grammar mistakes. For example, Google, it also helps us to checking the grammar or spelling that we use. For example, when we search something, we type Google, let's say Google, so something here is wrong, right? So as you can see from the suggestion box below, it's showing some things. It suggests the alternative way of what we want to write. In this case, it's supposed to be Google. And we also have some other application. For example, we have the Grammarly, as you can see in this one. So I install it on my browsers, add it as a plugin, so that we can help us to suggest some typo mistakes. In this case, for example, we have the word welcome and natural. So something here is wrong. So it suggests us correct words to help us writing in the correct grammar. So in here, it should be become to welcome. And we can also have some Specifically in everyday use, most of us use Microsoft Word. So from here, we have the suggestions highlighting that some words are mistakenly typed. And next, we take a look on word predictions. It predicts the next word that should be probably typed by a user. What does it mean here? For example, you type something to find out something, so it suggests you what is the prediction of what you are typing. In this case, I'm trying to search for natural language processing. So when it comes to processing here, I just type pro. So some list of words, some are those related terms are appearing for suggestions. They predict what text, what information should be used in this case. And next we will take a look on the information retrieval applications, or we call it IR. It helps to find relevant information to a user query. What does it mean for a query here? So in this case, the user, they may try to find out some information. So in order that we can retrieve the information from user need to give us a query. So in query here, it refers to your typing message. Just typing message. So what you are trying to find. And next, the behind the scenes, if we try to find related information related to the given query here. So we have basic IO and more advanced structure of IO. So in basic structure of IO, when we have a query, it simply find those query in the documents. We have many documents. So in here, it will return the result as the only relevant documents. But if you take a look on the more advanced structure of IO, we have the query. So this query will be extracted as the bag of words, which represent terms in the query. Then from this bag of words, it will try to find in the knowledge here. It represents many documents, many typical documents. So those documents that are consisting of bag of words here, it will be retrieved and returned to the user. So in here, it's quite more advanced, because before we can search query, we need to extract those query and transform it into a bag of words, which is normally represented as a vector of words. For example, we try to search something on the Google, we type NLP research paper here. So from this, it retrieves many relevant documents. So those documents will be listed. So as we can see, there are many documents, about 6 million documents are returning from this query. So these documents are displayed to the users. And next, we will take a look on the text categorization, or normally we can say text classification. So what does it do? It normally assigns some predefined category to a text. So in here, what does it mean? For example, we have some text. We want to know whether this text belong to sports, to politics, to economics, or to some other topics. So in term here, we use category. So there is also a tool available at uclassify.com here. You can find via this link. It provides many library, or in techniques we call classifiers, which help us to perform some tasks relating to the text classification. For example, in here, as you can see, we have the gender analyzer, which will analyze for us. For example, we have a list of person names, and then we try to find out whether these names belong to female or male groups. So from here, we can use this library and extract those informations more efficiently. Next, we will see on text summarizations. What does it do? So in text summarization, it generates a short summary from one or more documents, or sometimes it only generates from a plain text. What does it mean, plain text here? It's just some files containing some simple text, no highlight, no style at all. So there is also a tool online that we can find in this link. For example, in here, we try to provide some text here as the input. What does it generate is the summary text. So these actually the same sentences. There is no paraphrase, no term extraction or removal. There is no. What it does is that some paragraphs, some sentences are removed from this one, so that it actually generated only some important sentences. Next, we will see on question answerings. What does it mean? So we try to answer some questions online. For example, we type some questions, and then the system will automatically respond us with the short and precise answers. For example, when I come to this website, and we type something, which countries speak English? So as the result, it returns us a list of countries which use English as the official language. And another short question, is Japan in Asia? Okay, yes, of course. So from this system, it happens to identify whether these questions, it should be answered with some appropriate answers, for example. And next, we'll see on machine translations. And I guess that most of us are using Google Translate, right? Yes, including me, I also use Google Translate. It happens to translate text from one language to another. So the source language is, we have the source language, and we have the target language that we want to translate our information to. This is simply Google here. We can just only type English to French in the Google search bar. And next, we just need to input the source language. So as the result from here, it happens to identify what is the target language for this one. There's also another applications provided by Google, but you can install it directly into your mobile devices. And next, we will see on the sentiment analysis, which is a very important features in NLP. It allows us to basically determine whether a piece of information it is turning to some sentiment info. For example, it is negative, positive, or neutral, for example. So how it is built on this? For example, we have positive here. So from positives, what are those sentiments? In basic terms, it will collect all information that are in positive forms. For example, we have good, happy, and wonderful. So these words are describing positive information. But if we take a look on negative part, okay, there are some words, some adjectives or some verbs in negative forms. So from these, basically in sentiment analysis, it will use these terms in order that it can analyze whether an input text that is describing about positive information, negative, or some other neutral. Or in addition, specifically, it may contain both positive and negative from a text. For example, as you can see here, this is about the sentiment analytics for a telecom company. We have reviewers from the users. So in here, from this date, and another date here. So these reviews are in different forms. For example, the first one is negative reviews. Why? Because we see something word here, no networks. These are complaining from the user. And we have positive review. Why? We say it's positive. We make it because it contains some positive information. For example, great work done here. Okay, it gives us some useful, some positive information. And also when it makes some positive and negative together, as you can see from here, the user starts with the word although the value added to services being provided are great but prices are high. So in here we see the word great. And next we see but the price are high. So these are the combination of positive and negative information. So from this analysis, what does the system help us to perform? For example, it can recommend the companies to take some actions so that they can improve on the services or some products on the company. For example, they can improve service quality and increase quality check for location with max negative review. So they will focus on which location that gets the negative reviews from the user, and next they will try to improve their service quality as well as to increase the quality of the products. And some other marketing strategy can be also used from this analysis, which will help to the company improve the quality products service and deliver a good product to the user. Alright, next we will take a look on the OCR in NLP applications, optical character recognitions. So in the previous, like in the existing applications, there's applications that we can recognize text, whether it is in handwritten or in printed text. Then they can convert them into the computer readable text. As you can see in this video, they make a tool, right, like a scanning tool. So in each sentence from the text, we can just simply move it around, and then the tool will extract those information. It will convert them into the readable text in the computer. And for more information, you can take a look on these URLs, which give you the direct link to these portable OCR scanners. Next, we have speech recognitions, which allow a program to recognize spoken language. Then it will transform these into a text, or we call it speech to text, or in short term, we call STT. I think many of you have been using Siri. It's an application where you can convert your commands into a text. And we also have for example, from Google, we can activate speech recognitions, the tool that is a built-in tool for some modern devices. We can use some keywords so that we can activate some certain commands. For example, in here we use OK Google. And next we have speech syntaxes. It is basically generates a spoken language from a text. So we have the input as text, and as the result, we will get what are the sound, what are the language representing this text. So in technical term, we use text-to-speech or TTS. And many people are trying to work on this research as well, because when they have a large amount of text, they will need to represent that text into the digital format, into the sound basically. And next we have spoken dialogue systems. What it actually is, we have a system which interacts with the users, so we can communicate via our spoken language. For example, Google Assistant. I think many of you have been using it for a while. For example, in here, I can activate the Google Assistant. I say something here. Give me the music. And then what is the response from the system here? Alright, music on YouTube. Here you go. So next, what does it do? It will activate, it will open the music YouTube player to open the music for us. So we have interactions between the user and the system in this case. And there are some more application in NLP, and I think you can take a look more in details. We have information extraction. We have discussed it before, some part of them. We have question answering and summarizations. And one more thing is called name entity recognition. So it will help us to recognize whether a text talking about something, or what are those actors, well-known people whether they are described in this text or not, or some other important location. We call it entities. And as we can see, there are many NLP applications. However, some of them are easy to perform, some of them are difficult to implement. So this shows you about the level of easy to difficult levels. So in easy part here, we have some application. It is quite easy. It's not that difficult if you be trying to implement these applications, and go down to the intermediate, the medium levels, which containing machine translations. So it's also a part of difficult application to implement, but we still can do it. It just may take some time and some data. And the difficult one is the most difficult, talking about summarization, dialogue systems. In summarizations, it's a bit difficult because what we should summarize from a text, it means that we should understand the text. For example, the sentence appearing in many documents. So perhaps this sentence is useful, so we should not remove it. So some other sentences that are not useful, they will be removed from the text. So as the result, we will get a summarized text, shorter text. So we have just talked about NLP applications. So next, let's move on to the challenges. What are challenges faced in the NLP work? The first one is called paraphrasing. As we know that the word sentence, they may express different situations. For example, same words or same different words, they may express the same meaning. For example, we have a season of the year. So we have fall and autumn. We can use either one of them. And we have book delivery time. For example, when we ask this question, when will my book arrive? In other way, we can also ask, when will I receive my book? So from here, when we try to implement, for example, to understand these questions, so we should think about the possible ways of writing the sentence as well. Next is ambiguities. In ambiguities, one word or sentence can have different meanings. For example, the word fall here, it can refer to the third seasons of the years, or some other meaning when an object is falling down. For example, you drop something from the table to the floor, it's also fall down, right? So in here, how the system can differentiate whether it is used in the season context or in the objects context. Another examples, you have the door is open. Whether we are expressing a fact, we are saying, the door is open, or we just say this and actually we want to request someone to close the door for us. So these can also in a different meaning, in different terms, for example. And next we have together syntax and ambiguities. For example, we have a phrase, I saw the man with a telescope. So what do you actually mean from this sentence? You see him by using a telescope, or you are seeing him and he is using a telescope. So these may provide different meanings. It depends on the context that you are using. So back to the system, it should be like try to know whether the sentence is describing in which situations. So it may need some testing, some inputs here, and then it will check whether it should be in this context 1 or in the context 2. And next, we have semantics. As we can see here in these examples, the astronaut loves the star. So when we refer to the star here, and we see the word astronaut, perhaps you are talking about the star in the sky, because the word of astronomer normally they working in a space and they may see some stars, see many stars. Perhaps they like them. Or sometimes, okay, the astronomer, they also like to watch some entertainments. And there are celebrities there. One of them may be their favorite or even they love them. So these can be in different terms. Okay, as we have discussed earlier for the NLP challenges. And next, we will take a look on the libraries that we can use for performing NLP tasks. So these are top 3 NLP libraries that we can use. The first one is NLTK, second one is PASI, and the third one is Gensims. So in NLTK, as we have talked from the first slide, from the beginning in our lecture here, we will perform this because it gives us many features as well as the good language to start with. So basically in NLTK, it uses Python. However, in PASI and Gensim here, both of them also use Pythons, and there is another language called Cython. However, among these 3, we will choose NLTK because it gives us more features, more data to test with. So now we will come to the quick introduction on NLTK. It is a leading platform for building Python program to work with human language data. So human language data here, we're talking about the text because in this course, we will mainly focus on the text rather than the voice. And what are features and resources provided from NLTK? We have WordNet. So what is WordNet? WordNet is basically a lexical database that provides synonyms, antonyms, or some other related words of a verb, or verb, noun, or some other things. So containing in this database, it provides classifications, algorithm, containing many techniques that we can use. And it helps to do tokenizations, which we will talk in chapter 3. And we have stemming, touching, and some other features that should be used, that we will use in the NLP task. So why NLTK? Because it is suitable for linguistics students, engineers, some other researchers. So because it is a handy tool, normally everyone can start with Python. It's easy to learn the programming languages. And NLTK are available not only in Windows but Mac OS and Linux as well. And it is a free and open source, and it have many community-driven projects, which means that there are many available projects like they share together that we can access and see what we can improve, for example. So in here, we will use Linux here. However, students can also use some other platforms that they prefer, such as Windows or Mac OS. And these are the source reference and the books that students that you can try to learn more. And these are the main source that we can work on so that we can try to understand more on how NLTP works and what techniques and tools that we can use. Alright everyone, thank you for attending the course, and we come to the end of the lecture and we have a homework here. So I hope that each of you will try to work on this homework. It's actually on tools installations. So you will be asked to install human tools on machine, or you can use Windows, that's okay. And the Python 3, it is a must that you should use. Better check whether you are trying to download Python 2 or Python 3. Please download Python 3 and please install an LTK library as well. And for code editor, we use PyCharm IDE because it provides handy tools to work with Python programming. Okay, thank you everyone. Hope to see you in the next lecture. Thank you.